Okay, welcome guys to our very first podcast. Joining me today is my good friend Alistair, and today we're just going to be talking about a few controversial topics. But we're here to learn, we're here to experience things, and just to talk about things. When you stop talking, things go wrong. So basically, our aim for this podcast is we want to experience things, we want to talk about topics we find relevant and our own experience on these topics. So even our own personal views, maybe views we've heard from others. But we want to have open conversation. We want to be honest about things because there's plenty of lies around. So might as well be honest in a time full of lies. So we don't have a name just yet. We haven't narrowed that down. So if you think any name in particular suits us, just give us a heads up there or comment down below. And yeah, we look forward to your interaction even as we start this off. Asa, you want to mention anything else?
So yeah, I think our aim for this is obviously, as Kyun said, we building conversation, building discussion. Obviously, we all want to learn. We all want to have different viewpoints and different ideas on certain topics. And I think these different viewpoints is what can actually get us to actually understand each other better, understand society better, understand the people around us better. So I think that's the direction we want to go in, and we also want to portray Christ in our discussions, right? We want to obviously everything that we're going to speak about, we're going to do it in a respectable manner, and we're going to bring up some scriptures. We're going to discuss how modern society, how the church, how the current generation is going about with these topics that we bring out in general. And I think even guys, when you're having discussions with us, those that are later on going to join in our future podcast, I think, and even in the comment section, I think let's keep it respectable. We obviously have there's going to be a lot of controversy around the things that we speak about, the different viewpoints, but I also believe that let's have it as a discussion. No arguments, no fights in the comment section. That's the last thing we want.
Yeah.
So I guess let's take it from there. Today, what we're going to be speaking about is obviously one of the biggest controversial topics currently around the world, and that is the current topic of the LGBTQ plus community. And obviously, we're going to tie it up in how it's um, affecting society. A lot of people believe there are positive viewpoints on this, on how it's impacting society. A lot of people disagree with that and say that there's negative impacts on the way things are going currently. And also, we're going to tie it up on how it's um, coming into the churches, how it's changing the way the dynamics of the church as well. So a lot to discuss in this. I think Ewan, I think if you want to kick it off, just a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
So based on this, right, based on the LGBTQ plus community, maybe you can just give us like just a broad idea on maybe your views as well on what you think about this, and yeah, we can kick it off from there.
Yeah, sure thing. So, as you mentioned, it's quite a hot topic, and it's been a hot topic for a while. I'm sure everyone can agree on that. In my personal view, right? I know I see it it kind of goes back and forth in a lot of spaces. But I think where it I won't say specifically then. It affects society, it affects every area of life at this point, Gone are the days where, people were very hush hush about these kinds of things, where people were in the closet,
It's
so to
more
speak.
open now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's much more praised and more accepted. But I'm
Mm.
sure that's evident to everyone. But in my personal opinion, right? So I can understand people saying, okay, they feel this way, they don't feel right in their body, that maybe the normal standards don't apply to them. Okay, that's all well and good. But coming from a Christian standpoint, right? And I'm sure many of y'all would understand the Christian viewpoint on this. It doesn't sit right with me. Like I'm
Okay.
not saying now you're gonna go to hell because of that. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, is that what God would want? Is that what He would find accepting? Because a lot of things that we find accepting that God doesn't,
Mm.
you
Mm.
know. And I don't have any problem. Okay, okay. Let me word this properly. So I can give it to where the beginning stages of it, of the movement, were fairly innocent in some aspect, right? Where you basically had your LGB,
Mm.
right? Totally, I think I can understand where those people are coming from because it had nothing to do with themselves, like their identity. It was more their preferences that were different from the norm,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
where the heterosexual people found attraction to the opposite gender, the lesbian and gay community found attraction to the same gender. And then you get
Mm.
bisexual who are attracted to both. Okay, that's all fine and good. I think where I I think I diverge from the understanding is when the T became added now. Because now we're
Mm.
not we've gone away from preference and saying I need to change. Like this,
Mm.
like I'm
Mm.
not in the right body. Like I don't know, something in that regard just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know. Maybe give me your thoughts on that, Alistair. Do you think?
Um, I, I agree with you on that. Obviously, it started off as preferences,
Mhm,
moved on to people obviously not feeling comfortable in their own bodies, not feeling comfortable in the
mhm,
way they look. I think it all there's quite a lot of things like um, it. I think look at it like this, right? Okay, one of it is insecurities.
mm,
Okay, where people feel that they shouldn't be a certain way
mm.
or they don't like the way their body look. So obviously, they change, do what they need to do.
Yeah, yeah.
This differs from when a person has to where females go and do their body up, like their implants and
Oh, yeah,
those
yeah.
kind of things, right? This obviously comes with a whole gender now where
Mm,
they want to change the entire body to fit, maybe to fit in with the way a woman uh they prefer the feminine side, a guy changing to become more
mm,
feminine and a girl is changing to become more masculine. And I think there was a video that you had there about this trans gender guy that he was speaking, and we will play that video, right?
Trans women are women. What are your thoughts?
Trans women are trans women. That's not said disrespectfully because my era, we were transvestites, drag queens, you're a man in a dress. We fought to have the title of trans women. Respectfully, trans men are trans men. That is not even a disrespect. It's this younger, new generation, Z crazy, that it's not enough for. But let me just break something down to y'all real simple. If a woman is a social construct and we're emulating women, what would that make us? Social construction workers? To be truthful. And if biological women stop having having sex. If biological women stop having babies, it won't be no more black, white, LGBT, fat, funny looking, and nothing else. I know y'all ain't gonna like the way I put it to you in the box, but when you find the lie, stop me. Because I have relationships with trans men that they identify as men, but they're biologically women. They think that, oh, Flame, you just pandering for the women. No, I know what a woman is. Woman is Mother Earth. We all came through the birth canal of a woman. All female impersonators, transgender, sex change, whatever. You did not learn how to be a female or act like a female watching somebody like you in a suit and tie.
That's a fact.
You learn from the woman that raised you, whether it be your mother, your auntie, your stepmother, whomever. But then when I get so comfortable in my gay or my transgender or whatever I decide to become, whatever's instilled in me, I'm better than you? No, I'm not better than you. You're still my sister.
Wow.
But I'm better than you now? That is the problem. We keep trying to dismiss women. You cannot dismiss a woman.
Right.
Like,
What I liked and what I noticed in that video was he mentioned that as much as you want to change, right? There are people that obviously a guy changing to transgender into a female, right? He's learning those feminine sides from another female.
Yeah.
You know, those respectable. I'm trying to get the word for it. Those respectable
Characteristics.
characteristics. Yes, yes, yeah. From a female. So I think as much as a person would want to change, I believe it doesn't sit well with me. But I feel a male. Personally, I feel a male should be masculine. A female should be feminine. Maybe I'm maybe I'm just old fashioned, but I personally look at things in that light.
Yeah, so I think I can understand where you're coming from in that, like, so a man transitioning to become a woman, a trans woman now, although they may portray feminine aspects and characteristics, at the same time, they would never truly be able to understand and the experiences of women growing up, you know? Because even us as men, of course, us as men, we don't understand that. We can hear about it, they can tell us about it, but going through and actually experiencing it, it's a different thing, you know?
Yeah.
Similarly, like how they can't experience what we experience because we're just different like that. And I don't. That's not a bad thing. It's we are different. I think that's where the lines kind of get blurred these days. That everyone wants equality. We fail now to see the differences, and difference is a good thing. You know, that's where we grow.
There's a lot of talk about where males, they saying it's their hormones, where they are born with that more feminine side of them, and even females are born with more of that masculine side of them. Maybe can you maybe give us like an idea on that, on those people that feel that, you know, it's out of my control, I was born like that, and so this is why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, this is why I'm the way I am.
Okay, so let's think about this now, right? Okay, I think we rather just speak from the male perspective since we can relate to that now, of course. So if a man is now born, okay, a child is born in the male category. So every man and woman have both male and female hormones. Estrogen for women and testosterone for men, of course. But the thing that differentiates them is the actual the ratios of it, I could say. I believe I saw a video recently where this girl was talking about how when they're having their periods, right? Well, she was mentioning that there's a spike in their testosterone, and she alluded to that being the reason why they get so moody and cranky, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. All right. But now the video that was playing, the version of the video that I saw is where this other guy was reacting to it. So what he reacted and went back to on that and said was that during the first like 1 to 2 weeks of ovulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the time of PMSing. So that's generally when the moods and all happen. And it's in that time that estrogen, the female hormone, is at its peaks. So in a sense, she was trying to allude that even in the when females are acting in a not so good behavior, it's the men in them, so to speak, that are causing that, Which, and then this guy comes and is like, nope, that's not it. It's actually, it is a female experience, and that in itself can show you the differences that these hormones play or the different roles that they play in us. So generally, even as people, even as adults grow up now, sometimes you find that some women, as they're growing up, even in their teenage years, they are generally more, or sometimes they have more body hair. That generally is a more masculine trait, and that is a result of testosterone. That's what gives us facial hair and things. And it's that difference that can help us, or that has always been the determining factor of whether we are more manly or more womanly in a sense, But like when you're saying your hormones are imbalanced, back to your question actually, what is my take on people or individuals that say, oh, it's this hormone imbalance that's causing me to feel a certain type of way? Okay, my response to that would be, I suppose, why don't you just go for hormone correction, right? So if that's okay, maybe this is more for people who are like, it doesn't matter my hormones or what I was born with, but I feel this is wrong or this is not right for me. So let's say now that a man has, or a man is born and he, for some reason, his testosterone production is low, so he's more feminine, and he feels that way because his testosterone is low. So my response to that man would be, why don't you try balancing that to normal levels? You know, get those. There are testosterone supplements and things like that. So get that. See if you still feel like not at home in your own body then. Instead of going the drastic measure now and saying, "Oh, I'm woman," you know.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Like,
I fully agree with that. I think there's a fine line drawn where they can go for hormone correction. Look, a lot of people don't have the money to do that,
yeah,
right? And in those cases, well, I really don't have much of a say in that, right? Because
it is a
it's
touchy matter.
it is, yeah. But I think even with that, in that situation where you don't have um the money for it, or to, you know, I think your moral understanding, I think it also comes up with the way you are. I won't even say the way you are raised, because that can differ, but I would say in knowing right from wrong.
Okay.
Basically, your morals in those senses, where you understand you have this type of hormone, you feel this type of way, and I understand why a lot of people, you know, the term is where they're still in the closet, they in hiding of how they truly feel, how they truly are. um and I understand, you know, back then it was a thing where people felt ashamed of it. People um, didn't really want to come. Okay, now it's out there, like
Yeah,
with this
yeah.
movement, with this LGBTQ movement. Um, I feel the LGBTQ plus movement actually gave people an opportunity to um, come out,
Mhm.
to come
Yeah, no, for
out
sure.
and to feel, obviously, to feel free, to feel welcome in a community,
Yeah.
right? And I feel from a perspective of making a person feel welcomed and making a person feel good about themselves.
Mm.
um it created it created a positive movement in that light,
Yeah,
right?
no, no, I
it,
totally
it,
understand
it
that.
basically, I'm talking about the community. I'm not supporting it because I don't uh, okay, I don't support the movement, right?
Mhm.
I'm coming out saying that because obviously my Christian ethics, you
Yeah.
know, and later on I'm going to dive into the Bible, quote some scriptures on this as well, right?
Mhm.
But I do like that it created this awareness, it created this movement where people felt comfortable again.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it almost like it got them out of that dark place they were in, and out
mm,
of that isolation,
mm,
which I don't think I would wish that on anyone to feel that kind of isolation, and
mm,
to feel
mm.
alone in your own
See,
skin.
a lot of people were judged for being gay, were judged for being
Yeah, yeah.
lesbian, and I think that's where society has done those people wrong.
Mm,
Because I personally feel that if they not accepted their decision of going down this path, but if they took them in and be like, okay, I understand that you feel this type of way. I understand that um you're not happy with your body, or you're
mm,
not happy with the way you are as a man, as a woman, right? As a male, as a female. I feel if they listen to them at that point and offer the help that they needed, instead of judging them and cornering them off from the rest of society,
mm.
I think that's where the problem started.
Yeah.
I feel that's where um, people started getting angry. And that's how I feel that's how people had enough at that point.
Mm,
Like, we don't care what other people think, we don't care what society thinks. We want to feel comfortable again. We want to feel welcome in society. We
yeah.
want to fit in with society and feel comfortable being the way we are, not being judged, not being um, looked. Okay, obviously, society is going to be the way it is. Like,
Yeah.
people are going to be
Yeah.
the way they are. They're going to judge. They're still going to do it. I think it came to a point where the community said, we had enough.
Yeah.
We had enough. And so I like what that people can feel comfortable again. But obviously I disagree with what this with the movement.
Mm,
I disagree with the movement. And I personally feel that a man should be a man and a female should be a female. And I two genders, you know.
yeah. Okay. So what I'm
um,
gathering from this is, I think we're seeing this in a similar light in what that the sorry, LGB part of the movement
mm,
has more or less been accepted widely by everyone at this point
mm,
because of the way
mm,
society has moved. People are
mm,
more open to certain things and all that.
mm, mm,
And again, like how I started off with, that started off because of preferences,
mm,
which
mm,
I can't deny someone else their preference in that way because it's not anything bad, so to speak.
mm,
But I think where we found a breakdown is when transgender had become inclusive of that group.
mm,
Like,
mm, mm,
I think I remember hearing this from somewhere where the LGB part, okay, as I've said already, was about preferences and like,
mm,
but now this transgender and all have become about identity.
mm, mm,
So because I'm not comfortable with who I am, I want to be like this.
mm,
That is that's true to an extent, right? Obviously,
mm,
if you are behaving in a certain way and you're not happy with your behavior,
mm,
you want to turn either for the better or maybe even for the not so better, but you want to make a change. In that
mm,
regard, I suppose I can accept your identity being you want
mm,
to change who you are.
mm, mm,
But where this has taken, I think, taken a turn for me is they want to change what they are.
mm, mm.
I think that's where I would draw the line.
Yeah, like we understand you want to change maybe your character, maybe your um. I think it's more of a mindset kind of thing. Like if you changing your mindset on certain things, I would totally agree with you on that, right?
Yeah.
And maybe okay, I don't know, right? But I would guess that maybe these people um would think, for example, they would feel that maybe a woman would think of things certain way and handle a certain situation differently,
Mm.
right? So we want to change
Yeah.
our viewpoint, our character to fit that, right? Or maybe a man would handle something certain a different way. Maybe he would look at things differently. Remember, we know that females are emotional beings, right? Men are more logical thinkers. Um, of a broad understanding of
Yeah.
how
The
we operate.
traditional look of it is
Yeah,
we
of
generally
how we
fall into
operate, right?
those roles.
So like in those senses, if you're changing your character, um and maybe adjusting the way you think, the way you portray yourself,
Mm.
that's totally fine. That I totally agree with that. But when you start changing your body parts,
Yeah.
when you start differing from what you actually are as a person, as a
Mm.
human being, I disagree with that, and I feel that
Okay.
um
I think
I
just
feel
to challenge you on that,
mm,
could we not say the same for people who get plastic surgery?
mm, mm,
Because they okay, maybe they're not taking it to that extreme, although some do.
mm,
But with that kind of like thinking, we could say the same about them. They're not comfortable in their body.
mm, mm,
I suppose the difference might what I could say is someone who's doing that are trying to enhance themselves
mm, mm,
in who they are. But I guess you could say the same about a trans person. They want to
mm.
enhance who they are, who they see themselves as.
They see them, yeah, totally understandable. Because I think obviously, um, on your first point, where someone does plastic surgery or implants and
Mm.
these kinds of things, right? I feel that's more for an insecurity side of things.
Mm.
But when it comes to these people that are transgender, I think, what, obviously some part of insecurity fills the gap there.
Yeah.
But I think it boils down to, from their preference, what they prefer, to
Mm.
what they want to be. So it's they want to be what they prefer, right? So
Mm.
instead of
Mhm.
sorry, instead of just going down that path of what they prefer and their mindset and their character, they want to change everything so they can be that
Mm.
specific preference. So I think it's a very fine line between insecurity and um, a mindset of, I you know what, I want to be this person.
Mm.
I'm at this point where I don't want to be a man, I want to be a female. Where I don't want to be a female, I want to be a man.
Mm.
You know. So I'm gonna dive in as well a bit on the non-binary and
Yeah, yeah.
these. other genders and these pronouns.
Mm.
I think it's getting kind of wild out there now.
Yeah.
People getting accused of not calling them by the correct pronouns,
Mm. I think,
not identifying them correctly.
yeah, I think to piggyback off that, now that you mentioned about the genders and stuff, I think we've had a falling out where, or ever since the terms gender and sex have been split. I know for me, for the longest time, those were synonyms. They mean generally the same, and that was the way you were born, you know. And I think where people, or I've heard people say that, you know, gender is just a social construct, but since they've split it now, they can say that. But I think while both meant the same thing, right? Gender being you are either male or female. I think the first divide there became when people said that gender was a social construct, which I don't think it is. Gender is just a way for us to describe what we see between a man and a woman, you know? It's an identifier. Like, oh, okay, this person has this characteristics, this anatomy. They are this specific category of people. And I think where people made the mistake is that gender isn't a social construct, but gender roles are.
Yes.
So and then people, they conflate the two in a sense where, oh, you know, okay, this is a pretty trivial example, but like, oh, I don't want to work at home and, you know, clean the house and things because that's the woman's job now, right? So she doesn't want to do that. She wants to go and work and, you know, be independent. Traditionally masculine traits and goals, right? Of course, now in our current economic system and all that, you can't really afford to have someone stay at home. Both parents need to work. But I think it's been because people have been grown in the way of it being in these two different areas, that the roles, because people gravitated to different roles than the tradition, they saw themselves as more of the other gender, you know, if that makes sense.
I also agree with you on that because look, let's take example single mothers, right? Obviously there's more in society currently. There's more emphasis on single mothers than single fathers with children, right? So let's dive in with single mothers at this point.
Okay.
Obviously, the single mother acts as a mother, and also traditionally fills in the role as of a male, as a father. She's still the provider. She's still the protector.
Yeah.
You know,
Because she needs to
those
be.
traditional characteristics. I think in that sense, that's where the independence come in, and people feel that you know what, and I see a lot of females nowadays. You know what, I'm gonna get a lot of backlash on this, but it's a common thing, right? A female goes through a heartbreak, right? And it comes out, and females are like, I don't need a man now. I'm chasing the bag. I'm gonna be this independent.
Yeah.
It's and you know what? It also applies to men as well, where men go through a heartbreak. I don't need this woman. I wanna go to the gym. I want to start a business. I want to do something, to better myself. And it's those things are totally fine, right? But I think I think where it differs, where it changes the perspective of the way they want to portray themselves is where they want to focus on them solely, right? They obviously, they move away from the traditional side of things, and because obviously it all boils down to them going through maybe some trauma or some type of heartbreak or some type of thing. I want to tie that up into the LGBTQ plus community as well. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people would judge them, would judge their preference, would judge their characteristics, would judge the way they look, the way they act, the way they speak. And I think that's a lot where the movement came in. I think that's where I think I'm going a bit off topic here, but I'm just bringing it back in, right? They obviously we mentioned that the traditional side of things have moved, especially in this younger generation, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
A lot has changed. People want to be independent. People want to do their things. Women want to have equal rights. And there's something I want to bring up as well, where women want to have equal rights, but a man can be called a woman or can identify as a woman. It's quite crazy because, like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah. And to think, at times in the past, or I'd say maybe before the movement got so prevalent, when people had these notions or these thoughts of, I don't feel like a man. Like, if I'm speaking for myself now, if I don't feel like a man, I feel more like a woman. You know, when they have those kinds of thoughts and they feel so strongly about them, that used to be taken as mental illness. What was it called? I think it was gender dysphoria.
Okay, yeah.
So that used to be treated as mental illness, right? What's changed? I think maybe that's a point in which we have failed those people. So instead of treating what's wrong in like your mental capacity now, because we know now in this generation now, we have every other person has some mental illness. Maybe that's just because now we identify it more. It probably was relevant or evident in the past as well, but we didn't acknowledge it. So I'm not taking that away from anyone.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore people who have issues. So I think where the breakdown happened was when people were given the option to change their bodies rather than changing their minds. So instead of the usual way of treating mental illness and treating the mind, and trying to go through therapy and to work out these things, because everyone at some point in their life feels like uncomfortable with themselves.
It happens. Yeah.
It's a part of growing up and things, of part of life. You don't feel comfortable in your own skin, but you don't take it to the point where you drastically alter yourself. So in that regard, I think that's where we have failed, or where the failure happened, when people started giving the option of changing your body because it's the easier way, so to speak. Because I think when you're trying to change your mind about the way you feel and express yourself, that's going to take work, because nothing comes easy. And then if you just accept it now, and like, oh no, I'll just change how I look on the outside to match how I feel on the inside. No, you change from the inside out. That's a more lasting change,
And that's where I feel, as you mentioned, that's where we fail. That's where society has failed these people.
Yeah.
They, as I mentioned, if they actually accepted their preferences at the start, there wouldn't be such a movement now to be heard, to be I'm not saying accepting their preferences in the sense of okay, you want to be this type of person, I'm okay with it, I want to go with it. I'm saying accepting it, that this is the way they feel about themselves. Let me help you, instead of judging you, instead of mocking you, instead of taking you away from the world, you
Yeah.
know.
We didn't show them that love that they needed, So they had
Mm.
to find it other places, using other methods.
You know.
And their
And
community that started brought it for them. So now
mm,
they don't need us.
and you know what, I talking about love, I think in these communities, it's, as I mentioned, this is where they feel welcome, where they feel the love of the other people. Obviously, it's worldwide now. It's become such a big movement. It's There've been parades, there've been people coming out saying, um, you know what, I'm identifying as this. There's two things that I want to dive in shortly. One, the other genders and pronouns. But first, while we're on this topic of love, since you mentioned love, I want to tie this back into the churches, and um, into how that people. I know there's a lot of churches that are accepting the LGBTQ plus community, and accepting people as they are, right?
Come as you
And
are.
as you are, and you know what, I personally feel like, okay, these people should be in church. They should be part of the fellowship that happens in there. And but I think where a lot of churches get it wrong, and where a lot of um a lot of people in the LGBTQ community get it wrong is they mention that God loves them the way they are, right? And where they get it wrong is they fail to understand, yes, God loves you. God is unconditional. He has unconditional love towards you, right? And I totally agree with that. But where they fail is, as much as he loves you, it doesn't mean that he supports your decision, because it's mentioned in the Bible. It's mentioned in the Bible where it's the Bible does mention, I'll get the scripture shortly, where it mentioned that it's a detestable sin. It's an unlikable sin, being homosexual, being indulging with men and men, and female. You know, these things, it's practically a sin. As much as God loves you, and the church would want you in those places, I feel the church has accepted them as they are, but they're not correcting them. And that's where a lot of churches are failing nowadays.
Yeah, I agree with that. Uh, it's that the way we have failed, or the church has failed, or some, I should say, some churches have missed the mark, is where, yes, God is love, and He loves every person, but He doesn't love all their actions.
Mm, mm,
That's even we are aware as Christians. He loves us,
mm.
yeah, but we still do wrong, and He hates the wrong that we do.
Yeah, true.
And I think where recently actually, I've learned that, when generally, when Christians think or interact or see people who are homosexual, or any person in line with the movement, there's always a negative reaction towards those people.
Yes. Yes.
Always. Okay, maybe I won't say always. I'll say most of the time there's a negative reaction towards them. I know from personal experience where even some of my close family members, when we like to have to talk about a homosexual person, like I remember one of them saying, "Oh, I asked them, right? I'm pretty sure they're kind of homophobic, right?" Which is sad to say that a lot of people in the church these days. I asked them, like, okay, what would you do now? Your friend, he comes to you and he says, okay, I'm actually gay, You know what the response I got from that was? It's like, I'm not your friend anymore.
That is sad.
Yeah. I think that's such a sad thing to say. Because what did they do to you? How can you just cut them off like that?
Mm. Mm.
Like what? Okay, they're sinning in this way, but you sinning in your own way.
Exactly.
I think this is where our human perspective just gets the better of us. Is that we always try and see, oh, my sin is not as big as their sin,
Mm.
But the
Mm. Mm.
fact of the matter is, when God looks at us, we all look the same. We all sin. He doesn't see, oh, this sin is bigger than this sin.
Mhm.
Oh no, I just told a small lie. I didn't do all that. But no, the murderer is worse than me. No, we all here. We're all at the same level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even it says in scripture, if you break one commandment, you break them all. You're guilty of all.
Mm. Mm.
So why do we see it as, oh, their sin is so bad, they're gonna go to hell for it? Oh, but your lying is not gonna get you to hell.
Mm.
That's a sin in and of itself. Why do we need to see, oh, I'm better than you, my sin is not so bad? That's the wrong perspective. Sin is sin. Just as you sinned, they've sinned. And an interesting perspective that I've seen recently as well is that, sometimes I feel like we treat homosexuality as its own sin,
Mm. Mm.
but in actuality, it's the sin of adultery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's even more so in the way Jesus puts it. Even if you look at a woman with lust, you have committed adultery in your heart.
Mm.
So with that, they doing the same thing where they, okay, I think let me get this right. So in the eyes of God, right, when a man and woman get married, they become one, right?
Mm.
And then they may indulge in, uh, in sexual activity and all that, right?
Mm. Mm.
So in the same way, or because it's like in that perspective now, when a man and woman become one. So when the homosexual marriage happens, God doesn't see them as one because He ordained man and woman to become one.
Yeah.
So it's as if they are not even married to God. And when they partake in activities married people do, they are guilty of adultery in itself because God doesn't acknowledge the marriage.
Mm. Mm.
It was a different perspective of seeing things that, like, oh, that makes sense,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree with that. And I want to touch on two things where churches that accept the LGBTQ community and churches that don't accept. Right?
Mm.
I see a lot of churches, as I mentioned, they're accepting it, and obviously they're not correcting it because they personally feel that God loves them
Mm.
and they are welcome, and that's totally fine,
Yeah.
right? They are totally fine. They are welcome in the church, but where the churches are failing is the correction.
Yeah.
A lot of churches try to not offend people, try not to get into the bad books because they don't want that banter, that backlash at them, right? So they choose to move away from the teachings of what the Bible says about homosexuality, about the teachings of uh, I've noticed that a lot of churches leave out sexual immorality in their teachings and their sermons, and it's quite crazy because I feel that these things at the current rate of the way things are going currently now in society, these things should be talked about. These
Yeah.
things
No, for sure.
especially because look, right, as much as you're preaching to a crowd of Christians, there's still sexual immorality that's going on.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter the audience. People, the churches are, as much as they, um, obviously I've noticed a lot of prosperity gospel going out. They're preaching about this thing, preaching the good news, but correction is not taking place. So I don't like the fact that that is happening at this point, because I think, as much as you got these people going out into these LGBTQ community, like when they're having their parades and stuff, and they're going to spread the gospel. But honestly, right? Honestly, I've seen videos where it's like one person or two people crowded by these big communities of gays, lesbians, and all these people that identify as different things, right? And if that one person can do it, what is it that the church that has that has the potential to build up people to spread the gospel, firstly, obviously, and so that they can be equipped with the knowledge and the understanding to actually go out and spread the gospel to these people, to spread the good news. Obviously, there's going to be a backlash. A lot of people are not going to accept it, and we've seen it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's natural. It's going to happen. But my point is, if the church can come as a unity, come in unity to create this awareness that, okay, this is wrong. At this point, it is wrong. And people come together as, a church community, if you can put it, of fellowship of believers. To, I'm not saying create conflict now. No. I don't want that conflict. Obviously, there is going to be conflict, but
That's not the goal.
That's not the goal, right? Obviously, when you're spreading the good news, when you're teaching these people and correcting these people in these communities, these LGBTQ communities, obviously do it as Jesus did, through love. Through love. Do what the people back then couldn't do.
Yeah.
Don't turn these people away. Don't go at them and like, y'all are wrong. Y'all shouldn't be doing this.
You're gonna go to hell. Oh.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of videos like, and it's crazy, because when Jesus preached his word, he did it through love. He wasn't like, okay, yes, he was like,
he was very straight with people.
Yeah,
he wasn't confrontational.
Yes, and as much as he was like, salvation is through me, right? Through Jesus, I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was like, salvation is through him. As much as he preached that gospel, he didn't force people into believing in him. He spread the good news. He spoke what he needed to speak, but obviously you can't force these people. But if you're approaching them in the right manner, in the right way, in a sense of where you can have a conversation with these people, and I think that's a lot where it goes wrong, because a lot of people come out and be like, obviously, you're going to hell, you can't do this, you can't be part of this movement, and these things again. But did they ever stop for a minute, right, and speak to these people and be like, okay, what made you do what, or change the way you are?
Yeah, you see, when people act in that way, you break down the opportunity for conversation in the first place.
You're already, at that point, you're creating that conflict.
Yeah, you're already disrupting conversation, and also that affects the way the audience would address someone else who's coming in a loving way. It's like you've already messed up the mission of someone else who was doing the right thing. But because you were getting ahead of yourself and like thinking, oh no, I am holier than thou. I am telling you the way is right and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But because you didn't show love in that, you like preventing that person from seeing love in someone else who's coming with them openly and honestly, you know?
Mm. I would suggest to a lot of people, right? Your approach on the way you speak to people, especially people that are spreading the gospel, do it through love.
Mm,
Do it with a calm mindset, and do it in a way of you want to have a conversation with this person.
mm.
You want to get to know this person, not go there and be like straightforward. You're going to hell. Oh, you should not do this. Don't do this. Nah, it doesn't work like that anymore. Because look at it, right? People have become, as things progress, as things get worse in society, people become more sensitive to things,
Mm.
become more sensitive to certain situations and certain um, values and beliefs, right?
Yeah.
It's become very controversial. It became very sensitive, and a lot of people don't like talking about it now because of the way
Yeah, you get
way
cancelled. You get cancelled.
you'll get canceled. So I think it's the way we approach people, and I'm not just talking to the Christian community. I'm talking to people in general.
Mm.
Don't turn these people away. If yes, you may disagree with their decisions, but if you disagree with it, come to have a conversation. Come to understand where they're coming from,
Mm.
understand their mindset and why they're doing the things that they're doing, and obviously try to obviously you want to give your viewpoints as well, right? So in that sense, I think change the approach. I think you and we should make another um video on our next few podcasts somewhere along the line
Mm.
on sorry about that. Discuss how we should approach people, how we should interact with society.
Yeah, so I think doing a podcast on how we speak to people instead of at people would be a good idea, you know? Because
Mm,
I think that's
mm,
where a lot of times, even not just preachers and things, but people in general, we just tend to talk at people and not to and with them, you know? There's no
mm,
connection anymore.
mm,
Oddly enough, us being more connected than any generation before us through the internet and technology, it really divided us a lot more than one
mm,
would expect. But yeah, I think a future episode or podcast theme could be on actually engaging with people on anything really, not necessarily just Christian topics. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea on that.
yeah, I think we should go about to that. Uh, yeah, the other thing that I said I wanted to mention, these other gender roles and these pronouns that people are coming up with. Like we understand a male and a male, a female and a female,
Mm.
transgender with people want to change with it. But then when you start talking about non-binary and things like you identify, I've seen some crazy stuff where people identify as disabled, people identify as dogs,
Yeah,
animals.
I've seen those as well. It's getting kind of
I
out of hand.
It is. Wait, do you know how many genders are there at the moment?
Um, Not the proper count, but
Let's
I'm sure there's close to
let's have a
100,
look. Let's have a
maybe
look.
50 to 100.
It's getting crazy. It's actually getting crazy. And you know, I'm not understanding where it went wrong, where it changed.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the exact one that I'm recalling, but from some that I've heard, like the meaning of that gender, like
Mm.
what category they fall into. Honestly, to me it sounds less of a gender and more of,
A characteristic.
yeah, like it's something associated with your personality
Mm,
and your
mm.
preferences rather than
An
a different
actual
gender,
gender. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
It,
don't
I
quite
think
follow with all those.
people differ from preferences, feelings, and emotions and characteristics to actually wanting to be that specific thing.
I think it's
We understand. Okay, say I'm a
Mhm.
firefighter, right? I'm I I can say I have the characteristics of being brave to
Yeah,
run into the fire to save someone, right? But I wouldn't go about identifying as being brave,
yeah.
because that's not the characteristic, or that's not the person you're going to be all the time. Like if you're going to say that I'm maybe non-binary, right?
Mm.
Meaning that you don't identify as any gender, right?
Yeah.
How do you explain the features that you have on your body?
Mm.
How do you explain the hormones that you feel in your body? How do you explain your emotions? How do you explain your X and Y chromosomes, and those kinds of things? What at what point do you draw the line?
Yeah. So I just looked up some of the I just searched up how many genders are there, right?
Mm.
So I came up with this one article that says there are, or what are the 72 other genders. So they give me a number 72. There could be more, there could be less. I don't
Mm.
know for sure, but this is what it's giving me. So the very first one they have is agender. Okay, agender,
Mm.
a person who does not identify themselves with or experience any gender. Agender people are also called null gender, genderless, gender void, or gender or neutral gender. So I don't quite understand it.
What definition does non-binary give you there?
Honestly, I don't see it. I think it might be covered under agender here in this specific kind of list.
Mm.
Oh, okay. And in the very end of the list, they have omnigender, having or experiencing all genders. Okay,
How?
that's all it's giving me. That's all it's giving me. Um, okay. Let me see if there's any in particular that maybe I can understand. Um, there's some strange names here though, if I'm being quite honest. Okay, androgyne. That I know of that term. That's like when you can't really tell if a person is male or female. Like they kind of have characteristics of both, but you can't
Yeah.
place it exactly.
Mm, mm. So, do you make these judgments based on physical appearances or
Well, my understanding of
behavior?
androgynous is that you have both male and female characteristics, but you can't really distinguish.
Mm,
That's
mm.
my understanding of it, anyways. But
But you
this
can still
definition,
physically identify them as a male and a female. With
yeah, that's the term androgynous. That's the term I know. But this one is specifically androgyne. Androgyne, yeah. suppose that's how you say it. Don't kill me in the comments for that.
Hmm.
A person feels a combination of feminine and masculine genders. So they feel a bit of both, I guess.
Okay. And that still boils down to
Well,
emotion
this one
feeling.
specifically says feminine and masculine genders. They're not saying a bit of both. But I guess
No.
that is masculine and feminine. There's two options, a bit of both.
And it's kind of crazy because that also still comes down to characteristics.
This
Comes
is
down
an
to
this is an
the
interesting
way
one here. Astral gender. Astral, like astral. Yeah. Having a gender identity that feels to be related to space. I don't quite follow that. You feel to be related to space.
uh, what I'm personally getting from all these things, right? Feelings, emotions, um, characteristics, and behaviors.
Oh, and there's biogender. Having a gender that is closely related to nature. I'm not sure what a gender related to nature is exactly.
Where does the line come between characteristics
Mm.
and preferences and the way you feel about something to identifying as something? Where is that line?
I couldn't tell you. I could not. Oh, this one is called color gender. In this category, colors are used to describe gender. For example, pink gender or black gender.
Guys, in the comment section, right? Can you guys maybe explain some of these things
Yeah,
to
no,
us?
well, we're not trying to make fun now. We're
Yeah.
genuinely trying to understand because we haven't experienced this kind of feeling. So we don't
Mm.
understand. Maybe if someone can explain it to us, it can help us see it in your view there. But it's
Mm.
not making
And,
sense
and
to
and I
us.
think we can have more of a discussion based on these other genders
Yeah.
from there. Once we understand, um, obviously the difference between it being a characteristic and a feeling, emotion, or behavior, um, compared to an identity, a specific identity. Because I feel your the way you identify, say you identify as what estrogen,
Yeah,
I think
astral gender. Yeah.
estrogen, you may not feel that way all the time. You may feel like an agent, uh, or you might feel this other type of identity, or collagen, or what some of the stuff
Mm.
that you mentioned, right? It can someone explain? Please explain,
Yeah, please.
like
Uh,
where is the line between identity and emotions and behaviors, or um, feelings and characteristics?
okay. So, okay, I'm just looking through this list here as we're talking. From what I'm seeing, a large number of them are basically different ways to define a mixture or a combination of things, a combination of other genders. They don't specify what those genders are exactly, but it's some combination or group of other genders that they just a little bit here, a little bit there kind of thing. But now I'm
Also,
coming to
what I want.
this one.
Hmm?
It seems a bit different to me. It's called heal gender, like healing, heal
Hmm?
gender. A gender identity that gives the person peace, calm, and positivity. Now, I thought your gender identity was you describing yourself.
Hmm? Hmm?
So, how does it give you something?
Give you something, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Because
Maybe,
I would personally think, right, um as much as you identify as this person as peaceful and calm, and there's going to be a situation, say you put in a situation where you can't feel peace, you can't feel calmness.
Yeah.
So do you maybe identify as something else at that point?
Yeah, that's
You
what I
know?
was thinking as well. So does your gender change at that moment when you are no longer
Mhm.
or it no longer gives you peace, calm, and positivity? To me, peace,
Mm.
calm, positivity, that sounds like a mindset. You know,
Mm.
that is my that is my goal. I want to be at peace, be positive, have a calm mindset, you know?
Mm. Mm.
It doesn't seem
So
descriptive of my identity. It's something I want
mm.
to maybe strive for, of course, but
Mm. And what I also want to understand is where did it start? Because obviously you have your LGBTQ,
mm,
right? And then where it comes to people identifying as other things, or I can, okay, I won't say other things. Okay, I can say as other things. I can say as identifying as something else as well. So where where, where did it go? Where did it shift? If someone could explain that, and I would love to have a conversation with that person. Maybe
actually,
on the next.
I'm just
Yeah.
reading this other article. It reminded me of something that I think where the diverge started with male and female, or maybe I don't know if it actually started there, but a good or a common response to like why, since when were they more than male and female, is when people refer to intersex people. I'm not sure if you're aware of intersex people. So intersex individuals are individuals born
Mm-hmm.
with either both or a combination or some ratio of both male and female genitalia.
Okay.
And sometimes it's the chromosomes say one thing, but the development, there was some abnormality that caused them to have the opposite anatomy. So
Mm-hmm.
like they don't really fit into either category just right. The chromosomes say one
Mm-hmm.
thing, but because of the anomaly, it caused them to look in a different way. So I get when people refer to those individuals as maybe they were not male or female, but at the same time, that doesn't make it the standard. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they are exceptions to the rule because something went wrong, something not normal in their development happened that caused them to be like that. It wasn't a third option, so to speak. It was an unfortunate occurrence that just happened. And then you get now people who just want to change because that's how they feel.
It's quite crazy. You know, it all sorry. It also comes down to, sporting events
Yeah,
and um females using male toilets or gender neutral, as they say, gender neutral toilets, facilities. Um, where is the line
mm,
that you draw at those kinds of things? Because obviously there was a lot of backlash on females that had more masculine traits that were taking part in the Olympics. Um, so,
yeah,
and they strongly against the drugs that they would use to maybe lower their testosterone and stuff. So where is the line? So can that person maybe, compete now? They can maybe identify something else and compete now.
yeah. A common example that I see talked about is I'm not sure if it was the Olympics exactly, or it was a swimming competition in general. Forgive my ignorance on the actual thing. It it happened in America, so I'm not quite as well versed with that. I believe the swimmer was Leah Thomas,
Mm.
a woman, biological woman, I should say. So she was the most like, or she had taken part in this swimming competition where I don't know if it was the first or not, but while herself and the other competitors were getting ready for the actual race now, the swimming,
Mm.
in the change room, while they were undressing and getting all their swimsuits and all on, right?
Mm.
One of the participants was a trans woman. So that meant a male to female transition, right?
Mm.
However, this individual did not have any kind of surgical procedure done or anything. So they were of male anatomy, male genitalia, and they were changing in the same room as these other competitors who were all female biologically.
Mm.
And according to her, Leah Thomas, no one notified them of this. They found out about it when this individual was changing with them,
Oh.
which I think is that's ridiculous. How can you not, at the very least, inform them?
Inform. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the term trans woman is there for a reason, you know?
Mm. Mm.
There is a difference,
Mm.
even though people like to ignore it sometimes. So say, oh no, there's no difference.
Mm.
But the respectful thing to do, I think, would have been to at least inform them.
Mm.
Like, okay, ladies, we know this is you'll have a trans woman participating with you all this in this particular event, and she will be using the same locker rooms as you all. So do with that information as you would. But to not even notify them and for them to find out while they are changing, I think that's quite a scary experience to have, especially as a woman.
Mm. Mm.
And
And
what makes it, oh, hits another nail in the works, I should say, is that this individual won first place, and Leah had the same response now. In what I think she was the most, or she was kind of the favorite to win that, or maybe I'm getting it wrong totally. But her statement was that, is it fair,
Mm.
for this individual to participate in this woman's sport? And I've seen a lot of people make arguments about this and that. People say like, oh no, they can because they've been on estrogen. They changed, so they don't have as much muscle mass and things like that. Because apparently that's the rule. You have to be within a certain limit of time before you participate in an event if you were a trans woman, I suppose. Because as a male, you're born physically more, how can I say this? You're born with better genetics linked to physicality.
Mm. Mm.
Like generally, men are stronger,
Mm.
they have more muscle mass, stronger, larger bone structures. So that all those factors contribute to your strength and ability to do activities.
Mm.
Because, like, from an evolution standpoint, men were always the ones to go out and hunt, and they needed that physicality because that was survival.
Mm.
And now that just doesn't go away when you say, "Oh no, I'm a woman now."
Yeah, yeah.
Even with like if you're doing your hormone treatments and all that, your body developed in a certain way. Those hormone treatments aren't going to reverse everything
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you are developed. You can't undevelop yourself.
Mm.
So you can let go of yourself and not be as fit, but you're not gonna lose what you have developed.
Mm. Mm.
So I think a lot in that specific aspect of sport, a lot of people have friction against trans women competing in women's sports
Mm.
because essentially it's like men taking over their sports as well.
Mm. Mm.
It's a controversial thing to say. I
It
can't
is.
understand why, but it is.
It as I mentioned earlier, a lot of women are fighting for equal rights,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
But at this point, a man can be identified as a woman. A man can change their identity and compete in, or not even just compete, but participate in the things that women are fighting for equality, the
Mm.
things that they want equality in. And at this point there's no balance in what they're actually fighting for
Yeah.
or what they actually want, you know so I think there's also need to be a fine line drawn to where these things need to be stopped,
Yeah. Yeah. Like
because
because there's a reason why we have men's sports and women's sports.
mm,
Because they
mm,
don't compete in the same way or at the
mm,
same level even.
yeah,
Because okay, let me not take it in that way. Like I remember seeing this other case, I don't remember the names exactly, but a
mm,
very well-known tennis player,
mm-hmm,
female tennis player,
mm,
was asked a question where, or rather, and a guy was commenting on her being one of the highest ranked female athletes in tennis,
mm-hmm,
and he's like, I think the interviewer or something asked him why not, or he commented that she was the best, one of the best athletes, female tennis players of all time, and the interviewer asked him, well, why not best player of all time, not
mm, mm,
female player, and he was like, respectfully, if she had to play in the men's league, she would probably be maybe not even in the top 200 best men players.
mm,
And that's not to say she's not good. She's like one of the best female players.
mm,
But it just, the metrics are different. The
mm, mm,
skills, the ability is different.
mm, mm,
So I think that statement in itself, and I think the actual, they actually managed to, in a different, not related interview, they asked this female player that they were talking about, if she thinks she would make it against like one of the top ranking male players. She was like, no, mm-mm. He's gonna beat me like 5-0. I'm not
mm,
gonna
mm.
manage to score a point. He's that good.
Yeah.
And if she can see it, why are these other people trying to make it seem like, oh no, how can you say that?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
she just the best of all time? But like, if she can even admit it, because she
Mm,
knows, she can
mm,
recognize her own skill and the skill
mm.
of these other competitors.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it's quite a crazy um, viewpoint, because uh, it's not only happening in sport. I mean, these gender neutral facilities that are coming up, where male and female sharing the same toilets.
yeah. It's scary. I think I
It,
actually saw one video the other day. Oh, I think it was yesterday actually, and I think I must have sent it to you. I don't know if you saw it or not, but this is actual footage of a woman recording on her phone now.
mm,
She walked into the bathroom. the public restroom now, and she's videoing her interaction with this individual, and she asks them, like, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "Okay, and I just went to the bathroom." And she's like, "But you're a man. What are you doing here?" He's like, "No, I'm a woman. I am a trans woman, and I'm just using the bathroom." And you could see he had a very masculine face, although he was wearing a pink dress, I believe. And he got offended. How could she even say such a thing? But at the same time, if you're a woman walking into that kind of situation, that is a scary situation to be in. Like, even if what they claim is something, what you see and how you experience that in your mind is a different thing. Because I know a lot of women, even now, they have a fear of men. Like, you know, when like they say, "Oh, woman can't walk out in the middle of the night alone. It's just so dangerous and stuff." And okay, yeah, in this society we live in now, there are a lot of messed up people who do messed up things. But it's okay to let an ex-male, so to speak, get into the same safe spaces like a restroom with a female, you know? Like, I don't know, the math just doesn't work out for me. Like,
Because look at it, right? A lot of men, especially when it comes to this whole identity kind of thing, a lot of men can lie about it, can be like, and use this as an advantage, be like, I identify as a female,
yeah,
and I want to use this bit, and cause all kinds of problems in
yeah,
those
no, for
spaces.
sure. Because again, there are a lot of
Abuse,
messed up people in this world who do messed up
abuse,
things.
sexual harassment, even rape,
Yeah,
these things can occur. So where is the line where society accepts this and be like, no, our safety is more important than
yeah.
actually identifying as whatever you want to identify as.
I think an interesting observation. Okay, I don't know how far it's true, but I have never seen anything anywhere about this kind of situation. We often see like clips and things of trans women, previously male, go into women's bathrooms and things. But I haven't seen occurrences of trans men, previously women, use
So
male
it's
facilities. Why is that? There's some
But
underlying understanding that
mm,
this might not be safe for me to go in, you know? Now, I could be wrong that maybe they are using it, but I personally haven't seen anything like that.
same.
Yeah. I think that
So
also goes for the sport thing as well. Personally, I haven't seen any mention of a trans man competing in male sports. Why is that? It's a peculiar thing to observe. Why is it that only these trans women are breaking records in the women's sports? But where the trans men, you know, show up. You know,
you know,
where's the representation?
it maybe there is, maybe we haven't obviously done a got all the information on
Yeah,
that,
no,
and
for sure. There could be, but I
could
haven't
be.
seen anything personally.
I think, guys, if you all know of anyone, please mention it in
Yeah,
the
no,
comments.
please share the video. I would love to see someone interacting in that way. Just quickly, um, your point earlier about how okay, I don't think you mentioned feminism exactly, but how women want equal rights and stuff, right, to men. But now men can just be women. So like, who are those rights for? I think I found that video I sent to you. It goes with a set of pictures, right? Goes first wave of feminism. We want to be equal to men. Okay, all well and good. They got voting rights and all of those kind of things. They got to work in the labor force and things like that. Second wave of feminism, and these are just like broad captions of what the movement meant at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Second wave of feminism, the trait was we don't need men because now they're independent. They don't need no man. They can do it for themselves.
Mm.
Third wave of feminism, apparently, we are men.
Well,
But wait for it. The fourth wave of feminism, men going, we are women.
mm.
So,
Mm.
at what point does feminism include trans women?
Mm. Mm.
Who are you trying to be equal with here?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Like, and also now, if we think about it, if it was that easy to have equal rights and women could just say, I'm a man,
Mm.
why are men still going to become a woman?
That's true.
Supposedly, men have more rights than women. Men
Mm.
have it better in society than women. So why are men becoming women?
Mm.
Something to think about. Like, I
Something
understand
really.
probably they have the argument, okay, they don't feel at home in their own body and all like that.
Mm-hmm.
But is that really benefiting them in any way?
Mm.
Could they not have gotten that help to sort out their own view on themselves rather than changing themselves to fit what they think they should be?
Mm. Mm.
Maybe I'm saying it in a not so good way, but it's just something something to think about.
No, that's true. That's true. It's food for thought.
Yeah, food for thought.
So yeah, I think we dove English a lot into this topic. Obviously, guys, we would like some feedback on the stuff that we asked. And guys, obviously, if you agree with certain things,
Yeah.
please do share. Please let us know. We would love to discuss this.
Yeah, because I know we haven't really spoken about everything there is to talk about this. Like,
Yeah. There is quite a lot more. And I think I haven't gotten too far into the scriptures and
yeah, and I don't think we
what the
even
Bible
really
says
touched
about
on
it.
pronouns and stuff really.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we still have the scripture references and things like that. And also in regards to the transgender or gender identity in general,
Mhm.
how we spoke about the sports and things like that. There's also the topic of introducing it in schools. So
Mhm. Mhm.
children been giving the choices or the ability to
Yeah.
choose certain things that children should not be able to choose. So we haven't even scratched the surface on those type of things. But I think maybe we can count this as an overview.
Mhm. An overview. Obviously, guys, when we get more feedback from you, we obviously going to do a part 2 of this podcast, diving deeper into the concerns, the topics,
And then
things that you bring
yeah,
to our attention. We want to uncover this entire movement, this entire um, thing that's put in place for these communities, and dive deep into the roots of. Obviously, we mentioned a lot of things of the preferences and how it started
yeah,
back then in society, but we also want to dive deep into where this is going to.
yeah.
what
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 does the future say?
what does the future say? What um, is it going to impact us positively, negatively? How is it going to impact society? How it's going to impact families,
Mm,
children, our sporting currently, our our everyday lives
yeah.
at this point, our beliefs, our culture. How is it going to be affecting all these kinds of things? And I think in part 2 we want to dive deeper into that, and I would love for you guys to interact with us in the
Yeah.
comment section.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. Because we don't know everything, guys. Like we're just sharing what we know and what we've experienced. So we could be wrong on quite a few things, but we're open to learn. Like share your guys' experience. Maybe y'all had that experience with someone, or even personally, and you want to share it with us. Maybe it can open our eyes to certain things we haven't seen in a certain way, and maybe we could even have a chat about it, or make it an item to talk about on our next episode, next part. If obviously if you're okay with that, of course. We don't want to just air your business out here, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
we'd love to hear your guys' feedback and some inputs. Just teach us. We're not scholars. We're not some know-it-alls here. We just want to learn, and we just want to share what we learn. So yeah,
thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you all in the next part.
yeah,
Thank you guys.
and let us know if you're looking forward to that part 2, or maybe we can take a break, have a different video, and then part 2 another time. But please let us know. And yeah, we look forward to your guys' engagements and interactions.
And one last thing I think we haven't mentioned. We're going to be posting our podcast every 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Every 2 weeks, we're going to be posting our new podcast. Obviously, we're going to before we post the full video, we're going to share our clips on what's been happening, what our discussion points are. So, guys, feel free to get ready, tune in with us, and let's take it from there.
Yeah. I think that's good. Oh, and also don't forget about name, guys. We're really looking for a good name for our podcast here. So feel free to give us some suggestions. Of course, we'll be narrowing down some options as well. But if you all have a good one, you might just be naming us. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. So that's us.